August 12, 2025, 0914 UTC, the control room of the Atacama Large Millimeter Char Sub-Millimeter Array, ALMA, in northern Chile. The facility sits at 5,000 meters above sea level, a place where the air is thin and the sky is violently clear. On this morning, 66 radio antennas, usually pointed at distant star nurseries, simultaneously slewed to a new set of coordinates. Right ascension 18H 36 MN, declination 138 degrees. This sector of the sky was supposed to be empty. For 42 minutes, the most expensive radio telescope on Earth listened to the silence. Then, the silence broke. The data stream didn't come in as a whisper. It didn't look like the random background static of the cosmic microwave background. It hit the sensors like a scream. A structured, rhythmic pulse of energy in the sub-millimeter band, cycling every 1.4 seconds. The signal strength was so high, it saturated the receiver inputs, triggering an automatic sensor overload failsafe that shut down 3 of the primary dishes. The lead astronomer on shift, Dr. Eris Thorne, attempted to log the event as a transient radio burst. He began typing the preliminary report at 0958 UTC. At 10:15 UTC, the facility's internet connection was severed. At 10:30 UTC, a helicopter bearing no markings but carrying a transponder code linked to the U.S. Joint Special Operations Command landed on the helipad. Dr. Thorne was escorted out of the building by 4 men in tactical gear. He left his coffee on the desk. He left his keys. He has not been seen since. His university bio now lists him as being on indefinite medical sabbatical due to early onset dementia. Dr. Thorne didn't have dementia. He had data, and that data proved that the object known as 3I Atlas was not a rock. It was a transmitter. This is the reality of Project Indigo. It is not a scientific mission, it is a containment protocol. Its goal is not to understand the object approaching Earth. Its goal is to ensure you do not understand it until it is too late to panic. I am a former analyst for the Defense Intelligence Agency, assigned to the Indigo Working Group. I am breaking my non-disclosure agreement because the math doesn't allow for survival anymore. You deserve to know what is coming. The anomaly. The impossible spectrum. Let's strip away the NASA press releases and look at the raw physics. The official narrative is that 3I Atlas is an interstellar comet, likely ejected from a solar system in the Orion complex. Comets are dirty snowballs, ice, dust, rock. When they get close to the sun, they heat up. The ice sublimes into gas, dragging dust with it. Sunlight hits this dust and reflects back to us. Physics has rules. One of them is Rayleigh scattering. Small particles scatter blue light and let red light pass. Larger dust particles reflect a neutral spectrum. This is why comets usually appear white, gray, or slightly reddish-brown. They are dusty. 3I Atlas is blue, not the pale whitish blue of a gas tail. We are talking about a piercing electric neon cobalt blue. In the visible spectrum, it is brighter and bluer than the star Rigel. For a passive object with a surface temperature of -100 degrees Celsius to emit light in this specific wavelength, it would need to be composed of exotic ices that do not exist on the periodic table. Or it isn't reflecting sunlight at all, it is generating its own light. On October 25, 2025, the High Energy Physics Laboratory in Berkeley, California, pointed their automated spectral analyzer, Skynet-4, at the object. At 03:14 a.m., the system crashed. The error log read, "Input value out of range." The flux of photons in the blue and ultraviolet C spectrum exceeded the solar output by a factor of 400 relative to the object's surface area. Think about that. A rock, 5 kilometers wide, outshining the sun in the UV spectrum. That is not sublimation. That is ionization. The Cherenkov signature. To understand what we are seeing, you have to look at a nuclear reactor. Look at the cooling pool. That eerie, beautiful blue glow surrounding the fuel rods, that is the Cherenkov effect. It happens when charged particles, electrons usually, move through a medium, like water, faster than the speed of light in that medium. It creates a shock wave of light, like a sonic boom for eyes. But space is a vacuum. There is no water. There is no air. There is no medium for the particles to interact with. According to standard physics, Cherenkov radiation cannot exist in a vacuum unless the vacuum isn't empty. A leaked theoretical paper from the Indigo Group posits that the object is surrounded by a high-density containment field, a magnetic bottle. The medium isn't water. It's a super-dense plasma shield trapped in a magnetic lattice. Inside that shield, an engine is running, a propulsion system that accelerates particles to relativistic speeds. The blue light we see is the exhaust of a Starship drive, filtered through a magnetic shield that is struggling to contain the energy of a small star. We aren't looking at a comet, we are looking at the muzzle flash of a braking maneuver. The human cost, the Chile incident. The evidence isn't just in the numbers, it's in the burns. 3 hours after the Berkeley detection, a disturbing medical report was filed in the Pan American Health Organization's secure database. Case ID CL994 Alpha. 3 men, amateur astronomers, presented at a regional hospital in the Atacama region of Chile. They were screaming. They had been observing 3I Atlas through modified high-aperture optical telescopes. They were looking for details in the coma. They stared at the object for approximately 45 minutes. When they arrived at the ER, their symptoms were identical: acute photokeratitis. Their corneas were burned. Their retinas showed signs of UV bleaching. Their faces were red, peeling as if they had fallen asleep under a tanning lamp for 10 hours. They didn't look at the sun. It was night. They looked at a comet 150 million kilometers away. Do you understand the energy output required to burn a human eye through a telescope eyepiece from that distance? A welding torch couldn't do that from a mile away. This object did it from across the solar system. It is emitting hard UV radiation in the terawatt range. The Chilean authorities were silenced within 6 hours. The official diagnosis in the hospital records was changed to chemical conjunctivitis caused by wind-blown fertilizer dust. The men were transferred to a private facility owned by a shell corporation linked to the CIA. They haven't spoken to their families since. The academic purge. The scientific community is not blind. They see the data, but they are afraid. On October 30th, Professor Leonard Vance, a tenured astrophysicist at Harvard and a leading expert on interstellar mediums, uploaded a paper to the preprint server archive.org. The title was dry: Anomalous Xenon 135 emission lines in the spectra of interstellar object 3I. The content was explosive. Xenon 135 is not a natural gas found in comets. It doesn't exist in nebulae. It is a specific short-lived isotope created during nuclear fission. It is a reactor poison, a waste product that builds up in nuclear cores and must be vented or burned off. If 3I Atlas is venting Xenon 135, it is a machine operating on a fission cycle. It is dumping its waste heat and poison gas as it decelerates. The paper was live for 18 minutes. Then, the server experienced a critical database error. When it came back online, the paper was gone. Not just deleted, wiped. The DOI number was reassigned to a paper about soil erosion in Nebraska. Professor Vance was placed on administrative leave the next morning. His university email was deleted. His lab was sealed with biohazard tape, ostensibly for asbestos remediation. I have seen the internal memos. There is no asbestos. There's only a team of FBI forensics experts stripping the hard drives and shredding the paper notes. Vance is currently in a secure debriefing facility in Maryland. He is being told that if he ever mentions Xenon 135 again, his pension will be revoked and his children will find themselves on the no-fly list. The conclusion of Phase 1. This is the information vacuum. They are scrubbing the internet, intimidating scientists, and hiding the physical evidence. NASA's press releases about carbon monoxide ionization are insults to basic chemistry. They know that you don't know the math. They are banking on your ignorance. But the blue light is getting brighter. You can see it with binoculars now. A cold, unblinking eye in the constellation of Pisces. It isn't natural. It isn't friendly. And it is watching us just as closely as we are watching it. Project Indigo is failing because you cannot hide a second sun. The comet is an engine. The engine is active, and the ship is slowing down. Why do you slow down in deep space? You slow down to enter orbit. You slow down to arrive. November 15th, 2025. The briefing room at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is silent. On the main screen, a new map of the Northern Hemisphere glows in angry shades of red and orange. It isn't a weather map, it is a map of electromagnetic interference. The designation at the top of the file reads Blue Shift Event. This is the term they use when they think we aren't listening. Since the object began its blue emission phase, the Earth's ionosphere has been reacting violently. It started with the GPS network. Drivers in London found their navigation apps drifting by 300 meters. Automated tractors in the American Midwest stopped in the fields, unable to lock onto a signal. The official explanation was unusually high solar activity, but the sun is quiet. The solar wind is calm. The interference is coming from the object. The blue aura surrounding 3I Atlas is not just light, it is a highly ionized plasma cloud, effectively a massive Faraday cage or a jamming field. As the object approaches Earth, this field is interacting with our planet's magnetosphere. It is creating a noise floor that is blinding our early warning radars. NORAD's DSP satellites, designed to detect the heat bloom of a missile launch, are reporting 40% degradation in sensor efficiency. We are effectively blind. If a nuclear missile were launched today, we might not see it until it hit. This is the nightmare scenario for the Pentagon. They are realizing that their trillion-dollar shield is useless against an opponent who can simply turn off the lights. Military analysts are no longer debating if the object is artificial. That debate ended in October. They are now debating its function. Why the blue field? Why now? A dissenting faction within the Defense Intelligence Agency has proposed the mirror theory. They argue that the blue radiation is opaque to radar. We cannot see through it. We assume the object inside is a few kilometers wide because that's what the light suggests. But what if the light is a screen? What if the object inside is unfolding? What if the blue glow is the camouflage for a fleet? On November 18th, the Chinese lunar orbiter Queqiao-2, positioned at the L2 Lagrange point behind the Moon, had a clear line of sight to 3I Atlas without Earth's atmospheric interference. For 12 seconds, it transmitted telemetry that defied logic. Its synthetic aperture radar managed to penetrate the outer layer of the blue plasma. It didn't see a rock. It saw angles, hard Euclidean geometry, 90-degree corners, long flat surfaces that reflected radar waves perfectly. Nature does not build right angles. Erosion does not create perfectly flat planes, measuring kilometers in length. The data suggests a megastructure, a lattice, or perhaps a weapon platform deploying solar collectors. 4 hours after transmitting this data packet, the China National Space Administration reported that Queqiao-2 had been lost due to a micrometeorite impact, a statistical impossibility. You don't get hit by a rock in deep space 4 hours after scanning an alien ship. You get shot, or you get jammed so hard your electronics fry. The destruction of the Chinese probe was the first shot of an undeclared war. The silence from Beijing is louder than any protest. They know what happened, and they are terrified. The governments of the world are paralyzed by a realization that changes human history. The object is not just passing by. The ionization of our atmosphere is increasing daily. The blue shift is changing the chemical composition of the ionosphere. Pilots flying at high altitudes are reporting ozone smells in the cockpit and inexplicable equipment failures. This is not a passive effect. This is environmental engineering, or fumigation. They cannot shoot it down. A kinetic strike on an object shielded by a high-energy plasma field would be useless. A nuclear strike would result in an EMP that would wipe out our own civilization, while likely doing nothing to a ship capable of interstellar travel. They cannot hide it. It is becoming visible to the naked eye. A second star in the evening sky, cold and blue, mocking our ignorance. So they have chosen the only option left: silence. They are buying time. They are moving the continuity of government bunkers to sealed lead-lined depths. They are shielding the critical military grids. They are leaving the civilian infrastructure, the internet, the power grid, the GPS, to rot in the rising tide of interference. December 1st, 2025. The escalation. The blue glow is no longer just a visual anomaly. It has become an atmospheric crisis. Reports from pilots flying the polar routes describe a new phenomenon. St. Elmo's fire on steroids. Static discharges dancing across the windscreens at 35,000 feet, not in a storm, but in clear air. The ionosphere is being charged. 3I Atlas is dragging a magnetic wake through our solar system, and Earth has just entered the turbulence. The public narrative is fraying. NASA's comet explanation is now being openly mocked by independent scientists who haven't been silenced yet. Dr. Elena Vance, a plasma physicist at CERN, posted a video analysis of the blue shift on a decentralized server. She demonstrated that the energy required to sustain the ionization cloud around 3I Atlas is equivalent to the output of a Dyson sphere fragment. "This isn't a rock," she said, staring into the camera, her voice shaking. "This is a starship braking maneuver. They are dumping momentum into our magnetic field." The video was scrubbed from major platforms within an hour, labeled harmful misinformation. But millions saw it. The seed of doubt has sprouted into a forest of fear. December 5th, 2025. The blackout. At 14:00 UTC, the global GPS network suffered a catastrophic desynchronization. For 18 minutes, the timing signal drifted by 400 nanoseconds. It sounds small. It isn't. It caused the automated trading algorithms on Wall Street to crash, wiping out trillions in virtual wealth in seconds. Air traffic control systems froze. Power grids in northern Europe tripped their safety breakers, plunging Scandinavia into darkness. The official explanation? A software update error. A lie. The truth is found in the classified logs of the Space Force. At that exact moment, 3I Atlas pulsed, a directed burst of high-frequency electromagnetic energy aimed at the constellation of GPS satellites. It wasn't an attack. It was a ping, a test, like a submarine sonar pinging the hull of a ship to gauge its thickness. They are mapping our infrastructure. They are testing our resilience, and we failed. The military response has been frantic and futile. Operation Night Watch has been activated. The E-4B Doomsday planes are in the air 24/7 now. The nuclear triad is at DEFCON 2. But what good are ICBMs against a target that can manipulate gravity? A leaked report from the RAND Corporation, titled Asymmetric Engagement with Type 2 Civilization, concludes that any kinetic response from Earth would be equivalent to throwing a pebble at a tank. The recommendation: do not engage, attempt communication, prepare for subjugation. The biological effects are intensifying. The ozone smell reported by pilots is now being reported by people on the ground in high-altitude cities like Denver and La Paz. Hospital admissions for unexplained migraines and vertigo have spiked 300%. This is the hum, a low-frequency vibration that many people can hear, or rather feel in their teeth. It is the resonance of the object's drive interacting with the Earth's crust. We are being vibrated at the molecular level. December 10th, 2025, the visual confirmation. Amateur astrophotographers using lucky imaging techniques to bypass the atmospheric distortion have captured the structure within the blue cloud. It is not round, it is not organic. It is a needle, a long, thin cylinder, kilometers in length, darker than the void of space. It absorbs light. The blue glow emanates from the rear, from the drive cone. Along the hull, there are lights, patterns, not random reflections, but a sequence. The internet is flooded with these images before the sensors can catch them all. The needle in the sky becomes the symbol of the new era. People are gathering on rooftops, watching it. It doesn't move like a comet anymore. It is maneuvering. It is sliding into a high eccentricity orbit that will bring it over the poles. Why the poles? Because that is where the magnetic field lines enter the Earth. That is the back door. If they want to land, or if they want to inject something into our atmosphere, the poles are the injection point. December 12th, 2025. The silence of the elites. The bunkers are sealed. The news anchors are still reading the teleprompters, telling us to stay calm, but their eyes are terrified. They know. The wealthy have disappeared. The private airfields are empty because the jets have already left. They aren't going to islands anymore. They are going underground. The continuity of government sites, Mount Weather, Raven Rock, the deep shelters in the Ozarks, are sealed. The doors are locked from the inside. They have abandoned the surface. This is the ultimate betrayal. They knew. They knew for months. Project Indigo wasn't about studying the object. It was about buying time to build the arcs. They used the comet lie to keep the roads clear, to keep the economy running just long enough to extract the resources they needed. Now they are gone. And we are here, staring up at the blue ghost. What comes next? The mirror theory suggests the blue light will drop. When the drive disengages, when the shield falls, we will see them. And they will see us. Will they be conquerors? The history of contact between civilizations with vast technological disparities suggests yes. When the Spanish arrived in the Americas, it wasn't a negotiation, it was an apocalypse. We are the Aztecs, they are the conquistadors, and 3-Eye Atlas is their galleon. But there is a darker possibility, a theory whispered in the darkest corners of the intelligence community, the harvester theory. What if they aren't here for us? What if they are here for the planet? What if we are just an infestation on a resource they want to claim? They might not even fight us. They might just fumigate. The ozone smell, the radiation, the hum. Maybe this isn't a side effect. Maybe this is the fumigation. The final realization is cold. We are alone. The institutions we trusted, the governments we paid, the science we believed in. It has all failed or fled. We are standing on the beach as the tsunami pulls the water back, and the only thing left to do is hold the hand of the person next to you. The blue light is the only truth left. It is beautiful. It is terrifying. And it is getting closer. This is the final log entry. The internet backbone is failing. The power grid is fluctuating. The hum is so loud now it rattles the windows. Don't look away. Witness it. It is the end of one world and the beginning of another. Good night, and good luck.